Catalina woke with a gasp. She was sitting, though she had no memory of pushing herself up. Her hand was in the pocket of Pa's jacket, though she had no memory of that either. Foggy gray morning light slanted into the cabin through the greased paper covering the window. Something cold looped around her fingers in her pocket. It was one of the temples of Pa's spectacles. She'd taken them off as he thrashed. The memory made her stomach turn, sending a wave of sick through her. She snatched her hand back. Numbly, she got up and dragged herself to where José Luis sat in a chair next to Pa's bed. "You let me sleep too long," she whispered. "How is he?" I don't think he's good." José Luis looked gravely up at her, as though he knew something she didn't yet. Catalina peered down at Pa. Her breath snagged cruelly in her throat. Mama had died a different sort of death. She'd been mauled by a bear just out of hibernation, not taken by whatever poison coursed through Pa. But the look of death on Mama's face hovered close to Pa's, as though it simply needed the gentlest push to descend and settle on him. Earlier, he'd tossed and turned and spoke in English and broken Spanish. Now, he was motionless. His face was a ghoulish gray, and it almost seemed as though he were made of wax. "Go rest. I'll watch him," she said firmly. José Luis got up and threw himself onto his bed. He turned to the wall. Catalina took Pa's hand. As always, his nails were clean and carefully shaped, and though calluses toughened his palm, softness was under it. She held it, tight, willing the hardness and strength of her hand into his so he could take it and fight this poison. If only such trades could be made. Pa's mouth slipped open. A watery, high note wound through his breath. The red patchwork over his mouth, neck, and chest had spread, covering his face and torso and reaching down his arms. Eyes glittering with fever shone between wispy lashes. Catalina leaned over. "Pa?" she asked. "Can you hear me?" No recognition lit his eyes. He needed his spectacles. That was the answer. She stuck her hand in her pocket, pulled them out, and extended the ear loops. Then she stopped. Pa's eyes were still open, but the lids hung limply over them, like curtains waiting to be drawn. Death had descended. She understood it in an instant, yet her mind rejected the knowing. Her hand, as though determined to finish its task, lifted to still put his glasses on. His last vision of the world couldn't be a blurry wash of shapes. Pa's eyesight was so terrible he couldn't even read a book without his glasses. But it was too late. He would never read again. He would never see again. He would never offer her another dandelion. Grief sank into her heart, into her marrow. She sat back, staring at Pa. Early morning sunlight pried through the cracks in the cabin's caulking by the bed and fell across him. Small daubs of light rested over his face, circles glowing on his skin as though his soul leaked through them. A hot pearl of sweat ran down the side of Catalina's face, as she thought it was a tear. That would be best, to cry for Pa. She returned his spectacles to her pocket. The door tore away. With a scream, Catalina jumped to her feet. Wind burst through the cabin like a ferocious intruder storming into their home. It sent a vertical hail of dirt, twigs, and leaves through the room. It knocked over their table and chairs and flung back the quilt draped over Pa. José Luis lunged to his feet, but a piece of firewood, tossed as easily as a matchstick, struck his head. He collapsed to the floor.